Hi, I'm Tony, the artist behind Decayed Design. I'd like to show you some of the techniques behind my mixed media painting Death Dance and discuss some of my artistic influences. I'm a huge fan of illustrators like Mucha, Dulac, and Arthur Rackham. I've incorporated some of their style into my own, particularly when it comes to their use of bold ink outlines. Mucha is well known for those stylized designs that almost look like knotwork. He puts them in frames, flowers, and hair. I don't really want to replicate a fully traditional Art Nouveau style, but I do tend to sneak that twisting design element into certain places. So here in this illustration, I'm using it a little bit to create a tangle of snakes, so it adds some interest beneath our characters. I love knotwork, and I'm always trying to see how I could subtly work it into a piece. When it comes to storytelling and artwork, I always find inspiration in the golden age of illustration. So artists like Rackham and Dulac, they're all great to look at when I'm looking for maybe something more compositional or emotional, something in that direction. Some of the illustrations are super dark too. Dulac illustrated some Edgar Allan Poe stories, and I think they were his best works, personally. Harry Clark did the same, and they were just incredible and jarring. The patterns he designed in the clothing or in the interiors, that's insane, and the line work is so unique and masterfully done. I have to say my favorite artist has always been Frank Frazetta. Maybe his influence on my work isn't so obvious to the viewer, but I've learned so much from him. I usually use watercolor, and they're pretty much known for their dullness. So I try to bring in some of Frazetta's bold colors into my work and kind of shake up that notion that watercolors are pastel and boring and mostly for florals. You can achieve some really powerful colors that almost look like it could be oil or acrylic. It just depends on your layering technique, and maybe if you want to varnish it in wax, it really gives it a nice oily sheen. I also really admire the powerful women he created, where they're curvy and muscular and strong, but they're still feminine. I think I took a lot of those characteristics and applied them to my own women, and mine are often goddesses or have some mythological reference, but most of them are just a representation of emotion, not specifically one person. I actually remember the exact moment I discovered Frazetta, and it literally changed my whole life. I was like 12 or so, and my dad bought my brother a Fantasy Worlds magazine because it had Lord of the Rings on the cover, and we loved Lord of the Rings so much. It was a huge deal. So, I started flipping through it, and there was an article about the Frazetta Museum in Pennsylvania, and I was like, holy shit, what the fuck is this? I've never seen anything like it before, and I had to go investigate. We had this shitty old 90s computer, so it took like 5 minutes for the pictures to load, but I looked at everything I could find by this guy, and I would do little studies to try and recreate some of his stuff. I know I did the Silver Warrior in high school, and I was super proud. It looks like shit compared to his work, but it's a learning experience. I learned so much. I like the artist as a person too. I like that he was a family guy, and he would paint while hanging out with all the kids and the grandkids. And his wife was basically his muse and business partner, and he depended on her intellect as much as his own skill. And I really respect that. I thought that was cool. Frazetta always struck me as a very authentic guy and didn't try to don some mysterious, quirky artist facade or anything. Some people have these really transparently fake put-ons, and I think that's, just a front because they're insecure about either themselves or their work. And he just let his work speak for itself. I feel like Zdzisław Beksinski also had this quality. You can go watch some of the interviews with him. He's pretty funny. He just keeps it cool. He would state that his paintings didn't mean anything. I never really bought that. I personally think that they were manifestations of the horrors that he saw in Poland during World War II and the Soviet era. But maybe he didn't want to talk to art journalists about it. He didn't title his paintings either. I think he had a policy of letting the viewer create the story in their own imagination. I think he was also a little weary of the gallery scene as well. He commented on art collectors just being business savvy investors rather than truly appreciating the work. Therefore, he skipped most of his own exhibitions, which I think is pretty funny. He was super aware of all the fakeness in the gallery scene. I take a lot of inspiration from Beksinski, even though it's not really in your face. But you could probably see it in my desert landscapes, most noticeably. I love how he did these really rocky, desolate landscapes. It's like an apocalyptic, hellish wasteland. I do those all the time, and I'm actually trying to expand more into his architectural style as well. He also made these eerie goddess and giantess figures that I always really loved. Many of my own women in my paintings have a Beksinski feel. They're somber and yet have that divine feminine characteristic, nude but not really sexy. I think we both use nudity to express power or vulnerability rather than sexuality. I find that a lot of his work has a spiritual element, maybe even a bit religious. This is just my own interpretation. I'm not foisting this onto him or his work, but as someone who grew up in a Roman Catholic environment, I see a lot of themes of suffering, shame, and redemption, things that I grew up within that, sphere. Combining all these little elements from totally different styles of art gave me a unique artistic voice. I think a lot of young artists today are afraid of copying other artists because they don't want to be labeled as a plagiarist, and it holds them back from growing, honestly, and finding their own style. Okay, let me explain. Plagiarism is when you take something from someone else and you claim it entirely as your own. It's very clear, so don't do that. Do a study or a copy of something and make it clear that it's for your own education and who the original artist is. That's all. That's all you gotta do. And do that with a bunch of different artists and see what you like about each piece. That's how you learn. That's a great way to develop your own style. I think everybody is in such a rush to put everything online now, though, and it's really hurting younger artists, especially when they see some finger-pointing dickhead on Instagram saying, using reference is cheating, or real artists don't use erasers, or whatever stupid shit. And they get really nervous about following these made-up art rules and, stop. So whoever needs to hear this, let me tell you something. Fuck those people, and if you're nervous, don't put it online. You don't have to put it online. It's good to learn and explore and have fun. In fact, it's mandatory. The internet doesn't translate to real life all the time, so hope that puts your mind at ease a little bit. So the piece that I created in this video is called Death Dance. It's available at my website, www.dkdesign.com. You can also find prints, stickers, shirts, and other goodies there, or at any live event. You can find my upcoming shows by clicking the events tab on my website, or just sign up for my email list. That's the easiest thing to do. So thank you so much for watching, and consider hitting that like or subscribe button. It'll really help me out. Until next time, see ya!